How an US-Iran direct war might look. How do US and Iran compare? How may their fight go? Iran's military ranks 14th globally. Despite years of sanctions, it rivals the US today, the only superpower and top military power. Iran and the US are unlikely to fight, to force US citizens to mobilize, but Iran may need to. The US population is 335 million, against Iran's 86 million, expanding the economy and capacities. While 147 million Americans are military candidates, only 122 million are fit to serve mentally or physically. Iran has 48 million workers, but just 40 million are serviceable. If Iran and the US fight for a long time, 4.3 million US teens attain military age annually, versus Iran's 1.3 million. Thus, replacing losses is vital. America has the third largest military on active duty, versus Iran's 575,000. Reserves replenish wounded and rest exhausted troops. Iran has 350,000 reservists, the US 442,000. Iran has many reservists because required military service for all males at age. The Iranian active duty military is mostly conscripts, without many professionals or volunteers. Most conscripts are 19 and serve 2 years. Although few have good military training, few Iranian soldiers fire, and majority wear early Cold War gear. However, the US military trains competitively year-round. Training might contain minor and large duties. Example, the US Navy's biannual RIMPAC exercise comprises militaries from roughly 24 Pacific Rim nations. Traditional conscripts struggle against professional volunteer armies. Iranian conscripts are untrained and overwhelmed by America's elite warfighters. Due to the expense of war, military efficacy requires economical equipment. The Iranian military spends $5 billion annually, but spends a lot under the table on military activities. Throughout its effect, the US defense budget is $770 billion, far above Iran's annual budget. Iran has 543 planes and the US 13,247. US fighters number 1957, whereas Iran has 197. If Iran and the US fight, US may face its most powerful warrior since the Cold War. Iran has about 40 F-14 Tomcats, a pre-revolution Iranian government deal. 80 planes were purchased, but only 79 were delivered. US halted funding for Iran's Tomcat fleet after the revolution, afraid of facing the formidable warrior. Thus, the US destroyed all retiring Tomcats to prevent Iran from getting maintenance components. Due to US part replacement support issues, Tomcats are being utilized to maintain others, reducing their fleet. About 40 to 43 people are mission competent, 20 totally capable and 20 moderately capable. Iran's Air Force has Cold War MiG-29s, American F-4 Phantom IIs and F-5 Tiger IIs, Chinese J-7s, Mirage F-1s, Su-22s, and locally made Hessa Kausar and Sayeka. Light attack jets in limited supply are inefficient. Iran uses multi-role jets like Su-22. The Hessa Azarakh is a modified F-5E for ground attacks. Both planes can only strike tiny targets and lack precision without aiming pods. Iran's fighter fleet is primarily old. Some planes have 4th-gen avionics. Many aircraft models are hard to maintain, reducing the likelihood of operational readiness during fast-paced battle. Diversified air fleets increase maintenance costs, time, trouble finding replacement components. America boasts the most advanced air fleet. Some jets are antiquated, F-15 and F-16 fighters, air supremacy and ground attack, but are obsolete with modern fighters and air defenses. The world's most powerful fighter is the US F-22, superior than all others. Its hefty price, US Air Force production is restricted to 200 units. Only 195 Raptors are active, and production will end. The US Air Force is developing a 6th-generation air superiority fighter, a tested and flown prototype. The US military uses F-15s for air superiority, and F-35s, D-83 5th-gen F-35s across all arms. US Air Force plans to buy 163 F-35s, predicted to rise annually. Lockheed Martin will provide US troops approximately 135 planes annually till the contract is fulfilled. Rising US Air Force deaths. US Navy and Marines employ F-18 Super Hornet. This replaced the F-14 Tomcat in 1985. This nimble, carrier-launched fighter has a large weapon load, suitable for multi-role fighters. Legendary ground assault aircraft A-10 Thunderbolt II. The US Air Force has employed it to support ground forces since 1977. The fleet includes B-52 Stratofortresses, B-2 Spirits, strategic bombing using B-1B Lancers. The B-52, debuted in 1955, will serve until the 2050s. The longest-serving airplane ever. After upgrades, the plane remains a lethal bomber. being effective against Soviet defenses throughout the Vietnam War using electronic warfare defenses. The only stealth bomber fleet is the US B-2, developed to launch strategic nuclear assaults behind enemy lines. After the Soviet Union collapsed, aircraft were modernized for conventional combat, trying to avoid enemy air defenses and destroying valuable targets. Faster strategic bomber B-1B Lancer, less durable than the B-52, can fly supersonic to deliver bombs swiftly. America's superior strike planes threatened Iranian ground troops. In contrast to China and Russia, multi-role U.S. aircraft and pilots are trained in air superiority and ground assaults. The U.S. has a big advantage over rivals, making conflict riskier for Iran. Iran counters the U.S. Air Force with ground-based air defenses. Instead of air dominance fighters, Iran's longest-range air defenses, Bavar 373, are Russian S-300 reverse-engineered. Iran received S-300 batteries from Russia in 2015. Iran joined the JCPOA nuclear deal. Range, 155 miles, 249 km. These endanger fourth-gen airplanes. However, glide bomb-equipped F-35 or B-52s with standoff attack munitions might destroy these batteries and radar. Iran utilizes an intermediate-range modified American SM-1 missile, pre-revolution Iranian Navy procurement. Developed with 1960s home improvements, the Sayyad-2 ranges 46 miles. Sayyad-3 comes in at 75 miles, 121 km. Ground missile destruction is difficult. They can be deployed on nimble truck-mounted launchers, capable of rapid deployment. Battles at short to intermediate range. Iran's Shalamcha missile. 1960s American Hawk missile reverse-engineered. Mersad, Iran's revolutionary triple-rail launcher, can hit 2 targets simultaneously. Iran has copied or reverse-engineered foreign SAM systems. Many helicopter low-altitude defense systems are available. Iran has strong air defenses. However, most are static and U.S. famous. The U.S. might simply disable Iran's air defenses, using stealth aircraft, standoff attack weapons, electronic jamming, in Iraq, Libya, and Syria with little casualties. Iran supports its ground forces with a small assault helicopter fleet. Initial U.S. engagement would kill it. With short-range air defenses and man-pads, U.S. assault helicopters are the largest in the world, comprising 9-10 helicopters, including Apache, Marine Corps Super Cobra. These attack helicopters are protected, capable of close air support, reconnaissance, hunter-killer missions. A tough plane, the Apache, a single anti-aircraft fire victim. Iraqi military ambush near Najaf. Unfortunately, the 32 Apaches failed to achieve their main goal. Obliged to return after a deep strike behind enemy lines. Aging Apaches. U.S. Army battle models need improvement. In an Iran-U.S. conflict, tanks should be the main weapon. Flat open terrain characterizes the nation. Iran's 2831 tanks face the U.S.'s 612 fleet, second largest in the world. Iranian tanks are mostly Cold War antiques, despite modernizing T-72s with armor, sensors, and artillery. Iran's tanks are inferior to Western ones. Includes the esteemed American Abrams. Due to arms bans, Iranian Zulfikar tanks lack modern technology. Since its U.S. military debut, Abrams are updated often. The Abrams tank fleet is getting System Enhancement Program version 4, including a third-generation thermal camera, a long-standing American tank weakness. Americans are incorporating trophy anti-missile defenses inside their tanks to destroy enemy anti-tank missiles, employing radar and bombs. This is significant because Russian armor performs well in Ukraine, where Ukrainian forces demolished hundreds of modern Russian tanks employing anti-tank missiles. The Abrams tank gets heavier with each update. Menace to the fleet since it may be too heavy to cross bridges. Weight raises fuel expenses, decreasing its cross-country combat range to 93 of 124 miles. While American Abrams kill Iran's tanks, their improved RPG IED protection helps them survive in cities. Most action is likely there. Armored staff carriers are essential. Current battlefield infantry support and protection. The U.S. possesses full mechanized infantry. Iran fails. The U.S. possesses about 45,000 armored vehicles, only 7,600 in Iran. Iran's armored vehicles are mostly early Russian or late Soviet. Lack adjustments due to financial restrictions and sanctions. American Bradleys can fight light armored vehicles, even tanks with 2 anti-tank missiles. Iran and the U.S. have similar artillery. The U.S. has 1 498 self-propelled and 1 339 howitzer-towed guns. Iran's 1 Thu-30 self-propelled and 2 108 towed artillery. The U.S. uses agile, accurate fire support aircraft assets. Its artillery is better than Iran's thanks to smart munitions. With new guided projectiles, American artillery set a distance record, shooting a 43-mile shell and hitting a practice target perfectly. Iran's dumb artillery threatens trucks and personnel. Its enormous arsenal should not be disregarded in warfare. Persian artillery batteries would fail in warfare. Air dominates. Multiple rocket projectors or rocket artillery. Infantry can be devastated. Launching many rockets quickly, MLRS rifles prohibit infantry from hiding. Unlike slower-firing tube artillery, the U.S. uses 156 MLRs. Iran utilizes 2-485 mostly Russian or Soviet MLRs. Russian military failure notwithstanding, the Ukraine war shows basic MLRS systems' widespread impact. Though not insignificant, against U.S. air fleets this threat might fail. Naval activity are vital in an Iran-U.S. clash. Iran has 142 ships versus the U.S.'s 484. Small patrol vessels dominate Iran's navy. U.S. has 11 supercarriers. Each has 4 attack aircraft squadrons, tankers and other special mission aircraft, electronics warfare platforms, and aerial radar. U.S. has 9 helicopter-equipped smaller ships, Marines vertical landing F-35 amphibious plane. The U.S. has 68 submarines, using New Virginia-class subs, replacement LA-class subs from the Cold War. American subs can strike deep ground targets. Within Iran with cruise missiles, the Iranian Navy was also damaged. America's submarines, considered stealthy and hard to trace, have long dominated underwater technologies. The 19 Iranian submarines are largely midgets. Iran's small submarines target Persian Gulf ships and Gulf of Oman if war with the U.S. occurs to prevent large oil-laden ships. The U.S. prioritizes finding and destroying small submarines to avoid a catastrophic influence on global gas prices. Additional Iranian submarines include the Soviet Kilo class. One Fateh class is unsuitable for deep-water missions. Although old diesel-electric submarines, significant threat to foolish U.S. assets. After the Soviet Union collapsed, U.S. naval anti-submarine warfare was seriously damaged, causing humiliating exercises in the early 2000s with friendly submarines. However, when China tensions rise, U.S. ASW capabilities have increased, including tracking enemy subs with drone fleets. Iran might sink a large U.S. ship with an older, less tech-savvy sub, but it's unlikely to reoccur. About 9 main surface fleet combatants in Iran are frigates and corvettes. Patrol and quick attack boats make up the rest. Surface combatants from Iran would likely against 92 U.S. warships and 22 corvettes, but carrier-based planes would likely annihilate the fleet before engaging American ships. Targeting smaller patrol and torpedo boats may be trickier and may severely damage significant U.S. ships. When utilized in swarming, U.S. advantage is large in practically all categories. With better gear and staff, Iran war, how would it go? A major Middle Eastern conflict is unlikely to involve ground forces, as the U.S. may avoid a third land war. However, if regime removal was inevitable, the U.S. would need ground forces. American carrier-based aircraft first. Air Force attack aircraft from Saudi Arabian ally airfields would launch a massive air attack against the nation. Iran would likely target U.S. airfields and warships with ballistic missiles. But robust air defenses and Saudi collaboration, little damage would result. Iranian missile strikes on Israel, restricted targeting capabilities, reducing ballistic missile threat. American wild weasels initially attacked enemy air defenses, damaging missile platforms or radars. Short-range transportable air defenses may endanger U.S. aircraft. Iran is unlikely to destroy many. The U.S. is good at disarming air defense networks. Radars rarely move. Air defense assets are ineffective without radar. Iran could utilize Cold War anti-air artillery, but high-altitude U.S. jets will certainly negate them. American planes bombed missile sites, control networks, hubs for logistics, and army barracks, destroying much. Strikes would target port infrastructure, surface vessels. The U.S. attacks submarines. Iran's submarine fleet is destroyed by ASW aircraft. An overwhelming air attack alone would not subdue Iran. To do this, Americans must fight on land. It would be hard to invade Iran due to thick wetlands navigation. Zagros Mountains. Turkey is unlikely to let the U.S. use it. Iran's invasion staging base, since relations between the countries have deteriorated. Eastern Afghanistan requires crossing 2 deserts, pushing U.S. troops away from targets. An amphibious attack may be necessary. Although the U.S. Navy and Marines are capable, it can be expensive and fatal. Creating a beachhead in Iran would hard for the U.S. to defeat the nation, despite greater skills. Due to its size, the nation is larger than several European nations. A late 2000 study estimated that it would take 1.6 million U.S. troops to occupy the country. Conscription or partner enlistment is needed. It may be possible given Middle East tensions. Between Iran and neighboring, the U.S. might expect global backing if the invasion was justified. Iran may weaken the U.S. with conventional forces, but may utilize asymmetrical tactics like Afghanistan. Iran is targeting politicians, according to intelligence. Mike Pompeo, former Secretary of State, under 24-hour guard, through U.S.-based agents. Iranian support for terrorists might intensify America's invasion in Afghanistan, which Americans won't support for another 2 decades-long conflict. The Iranian people may support the U.S. replacing the current regime. Minimize civilian casualties. Iran would welcome the U.S. as liberators. Many people are fed up with penalties. Tyranny in Tehran. Iran differs from Iraq and Afghanistan. Lack of public backing may reduce its asymmetrical U.S. conflict. Iranian authorities realize that they can't defeat the U.S. in a head-to-head fight, as seen in Iraq. Instead of digging into hardened positions like the Iraqis, they would likely spread forces nationwide to wage a guerrilla battle. Iranian troops are also more likely to be motivated and better trained than Iraqi troops Americans battled in 2003, because they witnessed what not to do, what tactics didn't work, and most crucially, what worked. Though the Iranian military would fall quickly, but any invading force, American or otherwise, would quickly find themselves embroiled in an intense counterinsurgency with decentralized leadership, working in cells to destroy not their opponent's combat power, but their will to continue fighting. The days of a gentlemanly surrender and capitulation are likely long behind us. The video for today has come to an end. We are grateful that you took the time to view this video. Remember to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of the most groundbreaking content. If you enjoyed watching this video, showing it to your friends, commenting, and giving it a like, bye and have a nice day.